right, hello everyone. How is everybody today? Happy Monday. I think it's Monday. Hopefully you all had a wonderful weekend. Happy late Mother's Day to all of those mothers out there. Hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. I'm just getting my table towels ready to go here, and what I like to do is I actually like to cut the table towels into smaller pieces, so when I'm working with my acrylic I have just the smaller pieces to wipe my brush on. So that's what I am doing to get ready. I think I'll just put the rest of these off for the rest of, I'll do those later. Let me pull my chat up here, see what everybody has got going on here today. And then we will go ahead and get started. And you guys, I'm sorry, I apologize. I did not get our post into Discord today. So if you guys are followers of ours on Discord, you didn't see that in there. But we're here today. We're going to be doing a really fun set of nails today. And we're going to be doing some beautiful spring, summer French nails today. And I'm actually going to get a couple of nails prepped and ready to go. I'm going to show you two acrylic applications. One's going to be a little bit more of an advanced technique. One's going to be a little bit more of a beginner technique. So if you are a beginner or if you are more advanced, wherever you're at, you can choose whichever of these application techniques is going to work for you. So I'm just getting my nails prepped and ready to go. I like to shorten up those natural nails as much as possible and then just give them a quick shape. You don't have to be perfect with your shaping at this point. Just get a little bit of a rough shape in there. But then we are going to start with our cuticles. You guys, let me readjust my camera here. Make sure you guys got a really good view. There we go. I think that's looking better. All right, so we're going to go ahead and push back the cuticles. And if you're working on a full set, excuse me, make sure to go through and push back the cuticles on all of the nails. I've got a couple other nails that are already done here. So normally I wouldn't be pushing those back, but make sure that you are pushing back the cuticles on the nails that you're working on. And I'm going to change out my sanding band here. I've got an old sanding band on that I was actually doing my own nails earlier, and I was using that on myself. So you can see that that is pretty worn down. So I'm going to grab a brand new sanding band and we're going to replace that. So you can definitely see the difference between a used and old one versus the brand new one. Always make sure that you're using a nice new one so that you've got that good grit to that bit and it's going to do the job that it needs to do. Now when you get a new bit, these do have, you can see from the edge, it is just slightly beveled on the edge. So if I turn that on and I run my e-file at about 5,000 RPMs, it's not going to cut or damage the skin. But if you feel like it still is maybe a little bit too sharp for you, you can give it just a quick tap on your regular hand file, and that's going to also soften up that edge to make it a little bit easier, a little bit safer. Again, if you're worried about it being too coarse up around that cuticle area, you can go ahead and do that. All right. Guys, lots of familiar names in the chat there. Thank you guys all for joining us. I love seeing all those names in there. Thank you, thank you. Hello to everybody. We're going to go ahead and get our nail prepped here. We've already pushed back the cuticles. I'm just going to take my sanding band right up around that cuticle area and then feather through the rest of the body of the nail. And this is going to help to remove the shine from that nail, and it's also going to help break up any of the surface oils that are on the nail, so that that's going to be a lot easier to remove. So again, on our second nail here, same thing, right up around the cuticle and then feathering all the way through the length of the nail. Again, just breaking up the surface oils, creating just a little bit of texture, and that texture is what's going to really help to adhere our acrylic onto. So a nice textured surface, nice oil-free surface. I'm going to dust off those nails, even underneath. Get out that little bit of extra dust from underneath. And then I'm going to grab my swipe. And let me find that. Swipe is what we're going to use to cleanse those nails. I'm going to pump a little bit of this onto my manicure brush. Now you guys, you can use the lint-free wipes, and you could pump a little bit of that onto the lint-free wipe and then give that a quick scrub. For me personally, it's a little bit easier to just use my manicure brush. It's also going to help to remove a little bit more of that really fine dust that may be kind of stuck down in those side walls or maybe up around that cuticle area. So just brushing all the way through, cleansing that nail really well. And then the swipe is also, it's also going to help to remove those surface oils and really pull that those oils or contaminants off of that nail surface. Sorry guys, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat here. I'm going to grab a sip of water here really quick. Okay, hopefully that'll help. So we've got our nails, cuticles pushed back, we've removed the shine. I'm going to use my protein bond at this point. Protein bond is our bonder, and this is going to help to really get a great tacky surface for our acrylic to adhere to. So we're going to start in the center of the nail, brush that out to the sides, and then back up towards my cuticle area. And again, this is going to give us that really good tacky surface to our nail, so that way our acrylic adheres really well. Protein bond is a bonder. It's not a primer, so it's not going to dry back to that chalky look. You're going to always notice that protein bond is going to stay sticky. It's not going to dry back. Like I said, not going to dry back to that chalky look. It is going to remain sticky looking, and that's exactly what we want. Now, when we're working with acrylics or hard gels, I usually like to do 2 coats of my protein bond just to really make sure that I've got great coverage, that I've got an even application all over all of the nails, all the way through that nail from cuticle to free edge. And I feel like 2 coats is really going to help you with a great bond for your product to the nail. All right, we are ready to sculpt. So we've got our nails prepped and good to go here. I'm going to grab a couple of forms. So we're going to start with, I'm going to sculpt out 2 nails for you guys today, but when I work on my trainer hand, I usually only put 1 form on at a time. For me, it's a little bit easier, and then I don't bump the forms or anything like that. So on a real person, I would go through and I would put my forms on all 5 nails or even all 10 nails. Just depends on how you want to work. But on the trainer hand, I do one form at a time. So on this one, I'm going to take that little tab out of the center. I'm going to stick that on the back, and that's going to give our form a little bit more support and a little bit more durability to it. Okay, so this one is now going to have a little bit more of a firm feel rather than that more of a flimsy feel. Okay, so again, it's a little bit more sturdy. Somebody's asking in the chat, what brand do you use? You guys, everything that I'm using here today is from Young Nails. I am Karen. I'm our Director of Education at Young Nails here. So everything that I'm showing you guys is from Young Nails. And you can get anything and everything that I'm using at our website, youngnails.com. So feel free to check that out if you need any product. That's what I'm using today. All right, so all I did was pinch together those 2 little silver tabs at the end of my form, and we're going to be creating a short square nail today. So I'm going to leave the end of my form here open. If I was going to be doing something more tapered, something more like an almond shape or more of a coffin shape, then I would actually pinch that form together at the end. And you'll be able to see that that is how you're going to be able to get that more tapered look. But again, because I'm doing just a short little square nail, let me grab one more form. I'm going to leave the end of that form open. So again, I'm going to take that little tab out, put that on the back, turn my form around, pinch those 2 little silver tabs together. And again, just pinching the tabs together. I'm not pinching that end closed because we're going to be doing a little bit of a square nail. Now, I'm going to just open that up just a little bit. I'm just pinching that a little bit right there to open that up a little bit more. I'm going to tear open that perforated top, and then we'll get our form up underneath the nail. Now, when I put the form on, I don't just shove that form right up underneath that nail. I don't just push that right up underneath there. What I do is I come from a slight downward angle. And if I turn my trainer hand a little bit to the side here, you guys can see this is the angle that I'm working at. So I'm coming in at that slight downward angle, and then we'll lift up that form up underneath the nail. So that way it's going to go right up underneath the nail, and we're not going to get a gap in between that natural nail and the form. So again, starting at a slight downward angle, I'm going to bring that form up, catch that free edge, and then basically just lifting up at the end. And then it's going to bring that form right up underneath that natural nail. So just flush up underneath there. I'm going to secure my sides down here. Again, I'm going to leave that little end open right down there. But if you take a look down the barrel of the nail, you can see that there's no gap in between. There's no ledge or anything like that. That form is coming flush up underneath that natural nail. Okay. All right, we've got our form on. I think we are ready to go. I'm going to grab my Dappen dish. I'm going to grab my table towels. And again, you guys, I've taken the table towels that I've got right here and I've cut those into smaller pieces. If you didn't see me doing that at the beginning of our live stream here, that's where I get those small ones. And let me grab my acrylic brush. And today I'm going to be using Greg's Signature Series size 12. So this is a larger brush, but you can also pick up smaller pearls with this. And I'm going to show you guys how to pick up some pearls in just a second here as well. The color that we're going to be using for our acrylic today is Cover Pink. This is a beautiful color. It's actually the same color that I've got on these two nails down here, but it's a great color to use as more of like a base tiered designs, or if you just want something kind of like what I've got on here. I actually have our fiber gel on mine, but it's going to be just a nice neutral background. So the Cover Pink acrylic is going to be a beautiful, beautiful option for you. Now, I am going to grab my Dappen dish here, and I have a little bit of liquid in there from the last time I was using that. You can see there's a little bit left in there. I'm going to use one of my table towels, and I'm going to soak that up. Now, I actually had somebody ask me just this morning, why would you waste that product and soak that up if you could still use it? Well, here's the thing, you guys. When you are working with acrylic and hang on, let me just throw this away really quick. But when you take your brush and you dab your brush into your monomer, there can be a little bit of acrylic residue in your brush. So every time you go into your monomer, it's going to rinse that out into your monomer. And it almost starts to, well, it starts to polymerize in the dish. So if you've ever been working with your acrylic and you felt like your monomer felt a little bit syrupy or maybe a little thicker than normal, it's probably because you've got a little bit of that acrylic powder into your Dappen dish. So you always want to make sure that you're starting with clean, fresh liquid. That's how you're going to be able to pick up really perfect pearls every time. You're going to get great adhesion with your product, and it's just going to be much easier. So as I'm working, if I'm doing a full set, I will usually fill my Dappen dish. Let's come in a little closer. You can see I usually fill my Dappen dish right to the top of the bristles. So usually right about at the end of the ferrule. That's that silver part here. So right at the end of the ferrule, right at the top of those bristles, that's about how much liquid I always fill with. Now, if you're working and doing a fill, you probably don't need quite so much, but that's usually my rule of thumb for when I pick up or when I fill my Dappen dish here. Now, you guys, as you're picking up your product, I'm going to go through how to use your brush and how to work with your brush and how to work with the acrylic before we actually get into the application, because I think there's a lot of important things that you need to know. First things first, our brush does have a little bit of a crimp. So right through the center area here, there's a little crimp there that makes it a flat, like a flat edge. So if you look from the side, there's a crimp. So it's not a rounded edge. If you guys look at the base of the brush, see how it's rounded here? That crimp makes it flat, which makes our brush more oval shaped, okay? So as you're working, you always want to make sure that you're working and you're wiping your brush flat with that crimp, turn it over. Same thing when you're picking up your pearl. So when we go into our monomer, and you guys, I'll show you all of this in depth and in detail. You want to make sure that you're keeping your brush flat and you're pressing that brush down into the product flat like that, okay? You want to make sure that you're not turning your brush on the side and trying to pick up product on the side. You guys see the difference there? So this here is now on the edge of my brush, and it's not actually going to create a nice pearl. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping your brush flat into that liquid. Now, another thing I want to show you guys is the brush. So if you take a look at the brush, you see there's a dark area right at this part. So that top part, that pointy part of the brush, that area is a little bit darker. That's the area that you want to be using to pick up product. if you start getting product back up into that lighter area, that is going to start to clog up your brush. So you want to make sure that you're only using that darker area to pick up your product. Okay, now let's talk about how do we pick up our product. So again, you guys, this is a large brush. This is a size 12, but you can pick up very small pearls. Actually, let's start with a large pearl. So you can pick up a very large pearl. I'll show you that here real quick. Okay, so you can pick up that really large pearl, or you can pick up a much smaller pearl. Even just that teeny tiny pearl. So you can pick up whatever you need to pick up with this brush, and I'm going to show you how. So first things first, when you're working with the brush, you're going to dab that down into your monomer. Now you don't want to really jam it down in there. You don't want to force it down in there. But what you do want to do, I'm going to show you this from the outside of the Dappen dish. What you want to do is you want to put your brush down into the Dappen dish, maybe at just a slight angle. Give it a little bit of a press down. And what that's going to do is that's going to release any air bubbles that may be stuck in your brush. Anytime you wipe your brush out, do you see how your brush actually fans out a little bit? When you wipe your brush out, either side of it, you're fanning out that brush and you're getting air in between those bristles. So when you go into your liquid, if you just go into your liquid and you just kind of dip your brush in, what's going to happen is that the air bubbles that are trapped in between those bristles are never going to be released until you go on to the nail. And that's how you're going to get air bubbles in your acrylic on the nail. So what you want to do instead is you want to go into your liquid. And again, you guys, I'm pretending that my brush is in the liquid. Go in at just a slight angle, press it down, and that's going to release those air bubbles into your liquid, and it's going to release them out of the brush. So you're not going to have those air bubbles in your brush anymore. Okay, so I just give it just a couple of little presses to really make sure that those air bubbles are released. I'm going to tap the back side of my brush right on the edge of that Dappen dish. Now you guys, you want to make sure that you're not scraping that brush, you're not tapping both sides of that brush or swirling your brush around or anything like that. You want to make sure that you press in, tap the back side, and release the liquid. So however big of a pearl you want to pick up is going to determine how much liquid you release out of the brush. If we're going to be picking up a large pearl, I'm going to just tap once, and you'll see it drains out a little bit of that liquid from the point. So again, if you tap one time, it's going to drain out a little liquid. If you tap a second time, it's going to drain out a little bit more. So the more times you tap that brush, the more liquid is going to be released from that brush. The larger of a pearl you want to pick up, you want to leave a lot more liquid in there. So if you want to pick up a large pearl, just give it a gentle tap, and then you'll be able to pick up that really extra large pearl. Okay, if you want to pick up a little bit more, say a medium pearl, you're going to dab your brush in there, give it one press, two press, and that way you'll be able to pick up a medium-sized pearl. Okay, again, if you want to pick up an even smaller pearl, you're going to press, 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 even maybe press again. But again, every time you're pressing that brush, you're releasing liquid. So you're going to be able to pick up a smaller pearl. But they're all going to be at that same consistency just by draining out that extra liquid. Okay. Now, when you go to pick up your product, when you pick up your powder, when you dab off that brush, you want to make sure you're dabbing out the back side of this. And you guys, I'm gonna bring my camera out here just a little bit. I want you to see on one side of the brush. So if we've got the front side of our brush here, we've got that label. So this is going to be the front side of our brush. If you turn that brush over, again, we've got that little crimp there. So if we turn that over, the back side of the brush does not have the label. So for those beginners out there that are still kind of figuring out where where that crimp is and where you're supposed to wipe your brush, keep that label in mind. So you got your front side and then you've got your back side. So when you dab off that extra liquid, you're going to dab it off the back side of the brush. You're going to turn your brush over. You're going to use that front side. So the front side, let me show you guys again. We dab off the liquid from the back side. Now we're going to use the front side of our brush to pick up our pearl. The reason that we do that is because when we dab off that extra monomer, we're removing the monomer from the back side of the brush and we're pushing it towards the front side of the brush. If we were to wipe out the liquid from the back side of the brush and then try to use the back side of the brush, it's not going to have as much monomer in it and you're not going to get as perfect of a pearl. So you're going to go in again, dab in, release those air bubbles, tap out the back side, turn your brush over, use the front side, and you're going to come in at about a 45-degree angle. Now, at this point, you're not just going to jam your brush down into that product. Do you see what happens when I did that? I get product on both sides of my brush, and if I were to go ahead and set this onto a nail, when I set that down and lift up my brush, do you see how much residue is still left in the brush on the top side here? Let me wipe off my nail real quick. You want to make sure that you're keeping your product just on one side of the brush, so that way it's going to release really nice and easily when you actually set it onto the nail. So again, I'm going to press out the liquid from the back side, turn it over, use the front side. Now, instead of just jamming it right down into that product, I'm going to do kind of a press and pull motion in one. So it's kind of press and pull, press and pull, press and pull. Okay, so you guys see again, press and pull, and then I'm going to bounce my brush to pick up that product. So again, press and pull, and what that press and pull does, let me show you guys here really quick. So what that press and pull does is by pressing and pulling, it's going to keep product from getting on the back side of your brush. Okay, so let me show you guys that again. So again, I'm going to dab off the extra liquid. I'm going to press and pull, and then I'm going to bounce. Okay, so again, by doing that press and pull, it's going to keep product off the back side of my brush. Okay. Somebody's asking, can you show us how to apply it? Yes, you guys, I promise I will get to showing you guys how to apply it, but I want to make sure that you all understand exactly how to pick up that pearl first. It's really important to be able to get the proper consistency before you actually apply it to the nail. If you're not 100% positive on how to pick up your product, you're going to have a big old mess when you actually get to applying it to the nail. So let's go through one more time again. I'm going to dab off the back side of my brush, turn that brush over. I'm going to come in at an angle. I'm going to press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. Now, the reason that we do that bounce, instead of just laying that brush flat in there, we bounce, 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 because every time we press our brush down in, let me show you guys this on the towel here. I think it might help. Every time you bounce your brush into the liquid or into the powder, what's going to happen is the brush is going to release liquid. So hopefully you guys can see this on camera. But when I press, do you see how it releases liquid? Press, releases liquid, press, releases liquid. So every time I press my brush into the powder, it releases that liquid, absorbs the powder. Releases liquid, absorbs powder, releases liquid, absorbs powder. So that way we're going to get a really good consistency to our product. So again, instead of just setting your brush down into the powder and hoping for the best, see with that, you don't necessarily get that perfect pearl, okay? But again, by picking up that pearl or picking up that liquid, press and pull, bounce, 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 it's going to pick up that perfect size and perfect shape pearl every time. Okay. All right, you guys, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button before we move on to our next step here. And notice that as I am working, I am changing out my towel. That's why I cut them into smaller little pieces here. So this way I always have a nice clean place to wipe my brush on. So I'm going to grab just a few more here just to have on my station. All right. Now let's get into actually applying this, because I know you guys want to see the actual application, but if you don't understand how to pick up that pearl, like I said, you're going to have a big old mess on the nail if you don't understand your consistency. Now, when we're working on our form, I'm going to grab a second form here to show you guys something. And okay, so when we pick up our pearl, and again, hopefully you guys are now all going to be experts at picking up your pearl the proper way. I'm actually going to pick up a smaller one. So when you pick up your pearl and we're going to set it down onto our form, we want to make sure that our product is going to be a good consistency, okay? Actually, let me pick up one more here. we want to make sure that we've got good control of our product. We want to make sure that it's not going to run, it's not going to get out of control. If I were to just set that pearl right onto my form right away, you can see how quickly that product is moving. And I'm actually going to have to come in here and do a little bit more to control it. Now, you guys, I'm going to be honest with you. The room that I am in right now is very warm. I had to turn my air conditioning off so you guys can actually hear me. So, but I'm working in a really warm space, so my product is going to set a little bit faster today. So kind of keep in mind that as you're working, temperature does have a factor or play a factor when you're working with acrylic. The warmer your temperatures are, the faster your product is going to set. The cooler your temperatures are, the slower it's going to set. But again, if I were to pick up my pearl and just set that right down onto my form, that's going to run really fast. It's going to get out of control no matter what the temperature is. So I want to make sure that as I'm working on my form, and you guys, you can see it kind of gets a little gunky in my brush if I have to chase that around and maneuver that. So when I'm working on a form, I want to make sure that I'm using a consistency that is going to be very controllable for me. Is that a right word? Controllable? That I'm going to be able to control this pearl. So when we're working on our form, I'm going to pick up my pearl. You guys always tap down your product, tap down that powder so that you've got a nice clean space to press your brush in. And for our nail today, we're going to pick up a smaller pearl, so I'm going to drain a little bit of that extra liquid out. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce, and I'm going to pick up that pearl. Now, I'm going to just drain this onto my table towel. So I'm going to drain it for 1, 2, 3, about 4 seconds today, because today, like I said, it's a little warmer in my area here. So by draining out that pearl, let me show you guys this one more time. But by draining out that pearl, what's going to happen is it's going to bring that pearl a little bit more to a clay-like form. So again, press, bounce, bounce. I'm going to drain for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to set that onto my form. And now at this point, it's not going to run. It's not going to get out of control. Now, again, I think I may even go just 3 seconds. So let's try that one more time. Because again, it is very warm in my room. And if I drain out too much of that liquid, so 1, 2, 3, if I drain too much of the liquid, it's going to set a lot faster and I'm not going to have the proper amount of time to maneuver that. But by just draining out a little bit of that liquid, it brought that product to more of a clay form. So now I can mold and manipulate and move that product exactly where I want it. Okay, now let's actually get onto our nail. And again, we're going to be doing a shorter nail. So just like these other two that I've got on here, we're going to be doing a shorter nail. So I'm going to pick up a smaller pearl. So again, we are going to, there we go. We're going to dab off a little bit of that extra liquid. So 1, 2 presses, and maybe even a 3rd press. And then I'm going to press, pull, bounce, bounce, drain 1, 2, 3. I'm going to set that right at my free edge. Oops. See, you guys, again, it's a little bit warm in here. So I think I even drained out a little bit too much. So you do have to really pay attention to your temperatures. So if you are working in a warmer environment, you definitely need to work a little bit quicker. But we'll go ahead and pick up another one. So again, 1, 2, 3. We're going to drain out 1, 2, 3. I'm going to set that onto my form, give it a good press down, lift up my brush. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to use the belly of my brush to press that out from side to side, tuck in using the edge of my brush, and then walk that pearl up into the corner. Tuck in with the edge of my brush, up into the corner. Now I'm going to come all the way back across, pressing all the way back across, and I'm going to tuck in on that edge, again using the edge of my brush. Press up into that corner, tuck in on the edge. Press all the way back across. Now, if we need to shorten this up, which we're going to do, I'm going to turn my brush on the side. I'm going to use the edge of my brush and I'm going to push that product in. So this way it's going to shorten up that nail and it's also going to give me a little bit more thickness to my product right on my free edge. Again, if you need to, tuck in on those sides, walk back across, tuck in on those sides. Really create that beautiful straight square extension. Now you guys, as you're working, Again, if it's warm in your space or if your product is setting faster, worry about the end last because that can be filed much easier than anything else, especially if you're using the electric file. So you can just zip that across and shorten that up. So don't worry about the free edge here, that straight edge, until the very last step. Get everything on those sides even, get everything up and across that nail even. So now we've got that beautiful extension, okay? Now, what we're going to do is basically an overlay from the cuticle to the free edge. At this point, now we do want our product to run and to flow. We want our product to go from our cuticle down through the length of our nail without us having to do a lot of work. So on this pearl, instead of picking up my pearl and draining that out onto my towel, I'm just going to hold it for a couple of seconds because I don't want to release that liquid, but I do want my product to start to polymerize just a little bit, okay? Again, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button before I pick up this next pearl, and then we'll go ahead and do that. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I see those of you that are hitting subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so again, we're going to tap off that extra liquid. This one, we're going to pick up a little bit of a larger pearl. So I'm going to press, bounce, bounce. I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to set that onto the nail. I have the nail angled straight down. Set that down and release. I'm going to use the point of my brush to press out that cuticle area. Press, press, press. Now again, you guys, my room is very warm, so my product is not running and flowing as much as it normally would. So I do have to work a little bit quicker, but I'm just going to turn my brush and pivot that brush on the sides to pull that product forward and just start to blend out that free edge. Now I'm not blending all the way from that cuticle area forward. I'm just blending out that edge because at this point, you can see I've got a little bit of an arch right through here, and that's exactly what I want, okay? I want to keep a little bit of thickness through that arch, and again, just blending forward. If I were to blend all the way from that cuticle forward, I would have pulled all of that product out of my arch, okay? So make sure that you're just blending from the free edge forward. Now, when I worked on those sides, notice here, I kept my brush flat on the nail. On the sides, I actually pivot my brush and I turn my brush on the side. Let me see if I can, there we go. So here I'm working flat. On the side, I pivot my brush and I pull those edges down. Same thing here, pivot my brush, pull those edges down. That's how you're going to get that really nice tapered edge and nice smooth, smooth edge on the sides there. Okay, now we do have a little bit of space right in through here that we're going to fill in a little bit. And for that pearl, I want a combination of the clay-like form that we were using on the form and that wet consistency that we used back here. So for this pearl, I'm going to pick up a pearl, a little bit of a smaller one. I'm going to press, bounce, bounce. I'm going to just drain a little bit. So just give it a tap. I'm going to turn my brush around. I'm going to set that right down in the center and I'm going to pull back. Same thing, I'm pivoting my brush on the side to taper in those sides. I'm going to wipe out my brush and then I can come from that front edge, pressing that product out from side to side and then smoothing that out. So at this point, now we've got that really nice shape. We've got that nice thin and tapered cuticle area. We've got that little bit of an arch right in our stress area here, and then nice and thin right down at our free edge, okay? All right, you guys, so this was one option for your application. This is for somebody who may be not quite comfortable with their product and you're still maybe learning a little bit, or you just feel like you need a little more control. By building out that free edge onto our form, that gives you a guide, okay? Now, on our next nail, I'm going to show you how to build the nail without actually building out that first pearl. We're going to basically do this all in one. So I'm going to take a second form. Let's get this. Same thing, we're going to peel that off, pop that tab on the back. And again, you guys, as I'm getting our form on here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Get free education. All right, same thing, keep that end open. Whoops, I'm going to open up that top perforation. We're going to get our form right up underneath that nail. Lift up on the end. All right. Okay, so just like we did before, we've got our form on there. We're going to build about the same length and shape, but this time, instead of building out that free edge, I'm just going to start at my cuticle area and I'm going to pull my product forward. Now, because I'm doing this all in one bead, I do want a little bit of a larger pearl here. So I don't want to pick up anything too small. I definitely don't want anything that size. So I do need to pick up a little bit of a larger pearl. So I'm going to leave a little bit more liquid in my brush. I'm going to give it just one tap. Again, we're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to wait 1, 2, maybe just 3 seconds here because it's a little warmer. So we're going to press that down. I'm going to press out my cuticle area, press, press, press. That finger is angled straight down. Again, I'm going to kind of work that product on the sides. I'm going to wipe out my brush. Now I'm going to be able to use the body of my brush to press that all the way from side to side, pulling that down onto my form, bringing that product down, use the edge of my brush to tuck in on the sides, and again, use the edge of my brush to press in to shorten that up. Now again, you guys, I think maybe I probably picked up just a little bit too small of a pearl, so I think I do need to add a little bit more product onto my nail here to make sure that I've got the proper arch, but not really a whole lot, okay? I do have a good amount of arch in there already, but I can see it's just a little bit sheer right through here. So I'm going to still go through and pick up that same blender bead. So again, press, bounce, bounce, drain out 1, 2, set that right down in that low area back there, press that down, and then I'm going to blend that back towards my arch. So this way, by blending backwards, that's going to bring that product right back into that arch. And then I'm going to come forward, turn my brush around, press out that free edge, thin and taper out that free edge. So now we're going to be just kind of pressing that product back towards that arch and then pressing to smooth out that back edge. Again, just blending that out. Now we do have a little bit more structure to the nail. We have a little bit more of that arch, and we have that proper thickness. So again, if you feel very comfortable in molding and manipulating and moving your product, you can do this kind of an application in 1, maybe 2 pearls, but bringing that down onto the form. You don't have to build out that free edge first, but again, for beginners, I think it's a lot easier to build out just that free edge. And then you've got a guide. You've got somewhere that you kind of have a visual as to where you're bringing your product to. But as somebody who may be a little bit more experienced and you have a little bit more control of your product, you know exactly how fast it's going to set, you can build that just out onto the form. Now, if you're building out longer nails, that I do recommend building out that extension first like we did on this first nail. But on the second one here, again, if you're building out a longer nail, I would build out that free edge and then do that overlay as well. All right, at this point, I'm going to cover everything up, close up my brush and everything. And normally we would have to sit and wait for our nails to dry before we do any filing or any design work on them. But you guys, today, with the magic of the internet, I'm going to do just a quick swap out here. So I'm going to take off our nails here that we just did. And I've got a couple of nails that are already done. I've sculpted them out, I've filed them out, and they are ready to do our finish work on it and our fun design today. You guys, if you do want to see any videos or any education on how to file and finish your nails, we've got a ton of other great videos here on our channel. We have over 3,000 videos for you of free education. So check out the rest of our channel if you're looking for more information on filing and finishing the nails. But for today, we're going to just go into our design because, like I said, I've already got those finished up, so we are ready to go with our design. And today we're going to be doing some just really pretty soft, kind of pastel, springy, summery French designs. So I've got our nails filed out. I am going to grab my manicure brush and I'll show you the colors in just a second. Don't panic. But I'm going to dust off these nails because, again, you guys, I did file with my electric file and then I finished filed with a 150 grit file. Dust off those nails. We're going to go back to our swipe. So that same product that we were using earlier to cleanse the natural nails, I'm going to use that to cleanse our enhancements. And again, this is going to help to remove any dust, any extra oils that may have gotten onto that surface, and just give us a really nice, clean finish to our nails. Okay? And we're going to be working with our Manicure Color gel polishes here. And this is what we're going to use to do our beautiful French design. Now, when I'm doing a French manicure look, I like to start with a coat of either Sheer Pink 101 or Sheer Pink 102. And it's a personal preference. If I'm working with a little bit more of the Cover Peach, I actually like to work with Sheer Pink 102. So Cover Peach and Sheer Pink 102 are a great combination if you're working with the Cover Pink, which is what we worked with today. That was the acrylic we were using today. I like to use the Sheer Pink 101. For me, they're both sheer colors, and you're not going to get a whole lot of color from them per se, but you are going to get a really pretty, almost a more finished look, okay? And before we do our application with our gel polish, we're going to go back through and do one more coat of our protein bond. So just like we did when we were prepping those nails, we want to create a nice tacky and textured surface. So we filed the nails and created that textured surface. Now we're going to apply the protein bond to give us that tacky surface. The combination of that tacky and the texture is going to give us really great adhesion. And you guys, I didn't do any buffing on these nails. I didn't use my sponge buffer at all or anything like that. You don't need to. All you need to do is add that coat of protein bond, and then you can go right into your gel polish. You don't even need to use a base coat with this because those gel polishes, the Manicure Color is going to adhere really well to that tacky and textured surface. Now, again, I'm using the Sheer Pink 101. And again, you guys, you're going to see I'm not going to get a ton of color from this, but I really just feel like it gives you a beautiful finish. It gives you a more smooth, a more complete look. So if that makes any sense. But we're just going to polish on one coat. And if you like 2 coats, you can do 2 coats. Personal preference. Usually with my French manicures over my Cover Pink, I usually just do 1 coat. And that, again, is going to just give us that really beautiful, consistent color of a background. So again, I'm brushing, and you guys, just like I did with the protein bond, I start about halfway up the nail, and then I work back towards that cuticle area. A couple of reasons that I do this. First of all, it's going to give me much smoother application. And second of all, if I'm going through and capping the free edge, a lot of times when I cap that free edge, I get a little bit of extra polish right on that edge. So then what happens is as I brush down, that's going to go through and it's going to smooth out that little, almost a puddle at the end. So that way I get really nice smooth application, smooth coverage, and that beautiful capped free edge. Okay? All right, this is going to go into our light. And we're going to freeze this into place, and I'm going to just set my timer on here for 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is all it really needs to cure into place. And then we'll go into our French. So the colors that I've got for you guys today are, let's see, I'm going to go backwards on this. Okay, so we've got Aquamarine 101. And those of you that know me, you know that Aquamarine is probably one of my favorite colors. So kind of that beautiful aquamarine teal kind of a color. Next one we've got is Stray Date, which is a beautiful sky blue. If you guys want to see another beautiful sky blue color, I think it was last week, maybe on Wednesday, we did another beautiful sky blue look on there. So check out that video as well. Our next one is going to be French Exit, which is a really pretty light lilac color. And then we've also got Baby Royal, which this one, it's kind of a pastel, but I'm going to say it's a bright pastel. So those are the 4 colors I'm going to be using today. You can see just a quick little swatch of all 4 of them. I'm telling you guys, camera does not do these justice. I always say that, but it's true. Camera does not do these justice. I think they're absolutely beautiful. All right, now, here is my trick for doing French manicures with gel polish. I'm going to go in with a coat of our matte non-tack top coat. Now, you guys, I know at this point you're probably saying, well, why do you have to add a matte top coat if you're just going to polish over? You don't have to. This is my personal preference. But if you want to just start your French manicure right on top of that tacky, shiny surface, you can definitely do that. For me personally, when I do a French manicure with gel polish, and you guys, I keep saying with gel polish, there's a lot of other options. We've got our mission control gel paints, we've got our cream clays, we've got lots of other different things that you can create a French manicure with. But today I'm using the gel polishes, which are a little bit of a thinner viscosity. And having this layer of the matte on there, for me, it gives it a little bit less slip, if you will. So when I do my gel polishes, they're not going to run and flow quite as much as if I were to just polish them over just this tacky finish. Okay, so it's a personal preference. You could just go right into your gel polish application, and that would be perfectly fine. But for me, I'm going to do that one coat of our matte non-tack top coat. I'm going to cure this for a full 60 seconds. So I'm going to give this a full cure all the way through, and then we'll go ahead and do our French manicure look. Now, a couple of the other things that you might need when you're doing your French manicures is a couple of art brushes, and I've got our liner brush, and then I've got our micro detailer. So you guys can see, let me come in nice and close here. So you can see the liner brush on my left here is a little bit longer than the micro detailer on the right. Personal preference, and it can depend on how long of a French you're going to do. If you're going to be working on longer nails, that liner brush may be a better option. If you're working on shorter nails, that micro detailer might be a better option. So it just kind of depends on how you want to work. I'm also going to find, oh, I lost it, you guys. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Okay. I have one of our old art brushes, and this comes to a nice point in the center. I'm going to use this to really crisp up and clean up my smile lines. So I'm going to show you guys those in just a second here. So we've got our nails. They've got that nice tack, or that nice matte finish on there. It looks like I may have missed a little edge right here. It looks a little bit shiny underneath. I'm not going to worry about that. It's going to be just fine. So don't panic too much if you see that little edge that you missed. But we're going to start with Aquamarine. So I'm going to actually do this one nail at a time. And I'm going to tap out a good amount of that color. Now I'm actually going to put a little bit of this onto my mixing tile in case I need to use either of those art brushes. I can do that. But when I'm doing a French on short nails like this, a lot of times what I like to do is I'll just start from that free edge and turn the finger a little bit so I can come right up into that corner, brush forward, and then come back up into that corner. Now again, if you want to, you can use those art brushes. If that's easier for you to create a nice crisp line, you can use those right up to the corner. So I take a little bit of that color from my palette, start from the center, and just pull that out to the side. Okay, same thing here. Now on this one, for me, it's easier to start at the side and pull in instead of turning my hand around. Now I could turn my hand around and I could come back out from the other side, but I'm gonna just pull from the center in. So you have to really determine what your comfort level is and what direction you're comfortable working, okay? So sometimes I will pull from one side in and then the other side in. But let me grab one other thing here, and then I'm going to show you how to clean these up. So I'm going to grab my either swipe or polish remover. Go ahead and grab that. And then I'm going to pump a little bit of this up. You guys, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure everything is in camera for you to see here. So I'm going to pump a little bit of that up into the top cup here. So you can see right there. And I'm going to use this like an eraser. And I'm going to use my art brush. Come in a little closer here. I'm going to tap off just a little bit. And then I can use this brush to just gently clean up that smile line. So just cleaning that up with a little bit of swipe. Now, if it's easier, you can take the hand, you can turn the hand around, and you can come in from this angle, okay? A lot of times for me, it's easier to come in from this angle to clean up my smile line from here. Because this way I feel like I can position my hand exactly where it needs to be, and then I don't have to worry about bringing my hand over to the other side, okay? Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and we'll do maybe 2 nails here. When I'm working on my French manicures, I do try to keep an eye on them because I really want to make sure that my line is staying nice and crisp and sharp. And again, sometimes your product can flow a little bit. Again, this is why I put down that layer of our, actually we'll go ahead and do a couple here. But that's why I put down that layer of our matte top coat so that my product doesn't flow as much. So again, having that matte finish is going to keep our product from moving, and that way I'm not really going to be chasing it. Sometimes I feel like when I just work over that tacky finish, I tend to chase my product a little bit more. So I think we're going to go ahead. I think we'll be able to get all 4 of these done. And then we will touch them all up, and then we will cure them. Now, if you feel like you need to, oops, I got a little bit of product on my sidewall here. Make sure that you have your orange wood stick handy so you can clean up any product from the edges if you need to. So I'm going to turn the hand around, and I'm going to make sure that I get this into frame for you guys here. But I'm keeping this finger up because that one's done. I'm going to take a little bit of that swipe on my brush. I'm going to come in here, clean up that smile line, and then we'll go to our next one. Now you guys notice that I'm starting with the pointer finger over here. I'm starting on the right side. That way I don't have to worry about dinging or denting anything as I'm working on the rest of these nails. See, this one is angling downward. So now I'm not going to be worrying about bumping anything over here. Okay, I don't have this one down here where I would bump into that. Okay, so that's just kind of my trick for how I hold the client's hand and hold these fingers so that I can get that really pretty crisp French manicure look. Okay, so again, taking a little bit of swipe onto my brush, cleaning up that edge. And you guys, I'm starting to get a little bit shaky here. If you do start to get a little shaky, stop what you're doing. You know, put your brush down, shake out your hand a little bit, and take a breath. Okay, that usually helps me to just relax my hand a little bit. But also, do you see how I'm really anchoring my fingers downward, or I'm anchoring my fingers onto my client's hand? That is how I keep from getting shaky. Okay, so keep your hand anchored. Take a deep breath. Sometimes as I work, I tend to hold my breath, and that is usually what makes me start to get the little shaky shakes. So make sure that you do take a breath if you need to. Anchor your hand. Shake out your hand if you need to as well. But we're just going to finish touching up our smile line here. And if you need to, if you feel more comfortable doing maybe 1 or 2 nails at a time, you can do that. And I'm going to show you one of our other products here in just a second. That's going to make things a little bit easier for you. All right, I think we've got our colors on there. I'm actually going to get these into the light so I don't dent or ding them. I'm going to check them one more time. I think we're good. But we're going to get those into our light, and I'm going to freeze those into place for 30 seconds. Now, if you're working and maybe you do maybe 1 nail and it looks good, maybe 2 nails look good, you get to the 3rd one and maybe you start to see your product, maybe it seems like it's maybe flowing a little bit. Finish up those nails, and then you can use your Touch Cure Light. Let me come back out here. So the Touch Cure Light is going to be a great option for freezing that product into place on 1 nail at a time. So if you're new to doing nails, if you're not quite loving how to do French manicures, if it's a little challenging for you, do 1 nail at a time, freeze it into place for a couple of seconds, then do your next nail. Polish on that color, freeze it into place. Polish on the color, freeze it into place. That way you can freeze that product before it has a chance to run. So just another quick option to help you with your smile lines, because you guys, I know smile lines are challenging. They are precise, they are technical, and you have to have that steady hand. And if you don't, it can be challenging. But just some other little options for you to help you to do your French manicures a little bit better. So we're going to go back with a second coat. And same thing, I'm just going to brush all the way through. Now with my second coat, you guys notice that I'm not really being very picky or particular. If I get any of that polish past that smile line, I'm not going to worry because I've already got that line into place. And when I go to clean up, I'm just going to use that line that I've already got. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second here. But again, just quickly going over, doing my second coat of color. And let's see again, this one is French Exit. So we started with Aquamarine, then we had Stray Date. What are we? Stray Date? Yes, Stray Date. And French Exit. And then I think we got Baby Royal is the last color that we've got here. So some really pretty springy, summery kind of colors. And you guys, you can create whatever kind of ombres you like. If you like, you know, brighter colors. But I think it's fun to mix these up so that you have multiple colors on each hand. Okay. All right, same thing here. We're going to grab our cleanup brush and my swipe. Get those fingers out of my way. Dab a little bit of the swipe onto my brush. We'll come back through. But again, you guys, we've already got that line underneath, so we don't have to be quite so precise. Whatever you clean up is going to clean up exactly to that line that you've already got. Okay, so with that first layer, that's where we need to spend a little bit more time getting everything perfect. With our second layer here, not quite so much. All right, so my other finger is gonna go right down there. Okay. Again, cleaning up that line. And you guys, this is usually where it takes the, you know, the skill. But I always, when I'm putting French manicures either on my price list or talking pricing with my clients, this is something that I do consider as art. So a French manicure, you want to make sure that you are charging an additional price for it. So this way you're going to have the time that you need to take and you're going to be able to do a good job. But a lot of times clients think that a French manicure is a quick and an easy design, and it's not. So make sure that you are charging properly for it, because it is going to take you a little extra time. It is going to take you extra patience and extra skill. So make sure that you are charging accordingly for this, okay? Now, depending on your comfort level, depending on, you know, how you feel about doing French manicures, I do know a lot of people that maybe they don't even want to offer French manicures, and that's okay for you too. But if you're able to really perfect that French manicure, you're able to do a beautiful smile line, it's going to be something else that you can add to your service list. And again, using different colors, changing the design up a little bit is always going to be a fun option. All right, so that's going to go back into our light for another 30-second freeze. And then, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our moderators are telling you that we have over 3,000 videos here on our YouTube channel. Do you guys know that? Do you guys know that we have that many videos here for you of free education? Let us know. Let us know in the chat here, and make sure to vote too. But we are at the point of top coating, so we're going to go ahead and, again, if you guys haven't already, hit subscribe. But then once you hit subscribe, let's go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat. And if you're new to our channel, that's just typing in top coat, top coat, top coat while I finish up our nails. And we're going to be using our ultimate finish today. Again, you guys, you can use whatever top coat you prefer. If you like the stain resistant, you can use stain resistant. If you like, oh, you know what, you guys, I see just a tiny little area right here that I want to touch up. So I am going to grab my micro detailer brush, and I'm going to grab that Touch Cure Light really quick. I'm going to take just a little bit of that from my palette. And I am just going to use my micro detailer to just touch up that little edge of my smile line. And then I'm going to use that Touch Cure Light to freeze this into place before I do our final top coat. So you guys, if you do need to, go ahead and go back and touch up what you need to touch up. And then I'm just going to kind of blend that down into the free edge. Okay, so now again, I'm going to use that Touch Cure Light. We're going to freeze that into place for maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, just enough to set that little touch up into place. And then we'll go ahead and do our top coat. So again, you guys, go ahead and start the top coat chant in the chat. I see a couple of you doing that in there, but I want to see everybody typing top coat, top coat. Nikki says top coat times 3. I love it. All right, you guys, again, we're going to be using our Ultimate Finish top coat to finish up these nails. The Ultimate Finish is a great top coat because it is a tack-free top coat, and I actually really like to use this when I'm doing my French manicures because it's a little bit thicker. Now, the reason that I like it because it's thicker is because when you polish on that color on the free edge, sometimes you get that little bit of a ledge right behind the color. You guys, let me come in a little closer. So because this is a little bit of a thicker viscosity, it's going to fill in that little bit of a ledge, and you're not going to feel that once you've cured your top coat. So it's going to give you a beautiful smooth finish on here. It's also a tack-free top coat, so you don't have to worry about cleansing anything at the end. It's going to give you a perfect cure all the way through. Nothing to wipe off, nothing tacky, nothing sticky at the end. And you're going to just be able to send your client out the door. So we got one more nail here. We'll go ahead and top coat that. Now, 60 seconds is the full cure time for the Ultimate Finish, but I'm going to give you guys just a quick 30-second freeze in the light, and then I'll show you our final look so that you guys don't have to wait that extra 30 seconds. I know, sometimes 30 seconds really can make or break you, but we'll go ahead and just freeze that into place. Again, give you guys one more chance to hit that subscribe button. And while that is curing, I'm going to show you guys how you would want to finish the nails. Anytime you finish your full set, you always want to end with a coat of the rose oil. And what this is going to do, you guys, I'm going to put it onto my own nails just because I need cuticle oil desperately. You can see I need my cuticle oil. But then on the trainer hand, it doesn't really absorb in, so it's easier to show you guys on a real person here. So I usually put the rose oil right behind my natural nails, and then you start to see it will just kind of work its way down into that cuticle area, and then you can just massage that in, and that way it's going to hydrate the cuticles, it's going to hydrate that hyponychium, and it's also going to hydrate that natural nail and keep everything nice and flexible. So always make sure that you are finishing your full sets, your fills, whatever applications, your regular manicures, your gel manicures, always finish with that rose oil. And then we've got our beautiful spring ombre pastel French manicure. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed our lesson today on our little short square nails with a fun French application. And you guys, try out different colors, try out whatever colors you like. If you do this design, make sure to post it on your social media, tag Young Nails so that we can see exactly what you are doing, and have fun with your colors. You guys, thank you for joining us today. We will see you guys back next time. And yeah, well, thanks everybody.